Fans, welcome to Sports Talk, the first of many, hopefully, shows on the new Volunteer Times TV. I'm your host, Patrick Peedley. Today I'm joined by John Muse and Luke Petrie. We're going to talk about sports on all levels, especially the local level. But today we're going to start out talking about one of the hot issues of the last week, and that's University of Tennessee basketball. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Bruce Pearl is at his coach, and the university is now looking for a new coach. Lots of disarray, and thoughts of players leaving. So we're going to start about talking about Chris Mack, head coach of Xavier University, has already turned down the job.
He got a really nice offer from UT from what's been reported. 8 years, $2 million a year. So he essentially turned in $16 million to come be the head coach.
To stay at Xavier. Small school.
They give a good basketball tradition, but they're actually known for putting basketball coaches at the next level. Thad Matta from Ohio State, coach there. Sean Miller, who's coaching in the Elite Eight right now for Arizona, come from Xavier. It's a very good at producing college coaches. But he chose to say that's the state that the athletic department's in right now.
The athletic department is in disarray. Mike Hamilton, he is weak sauce as leader. Now, Mike Hamilton, on some levels, as a fundraiser, as a facility improvement guy, has done some good things. Mike Hamilton also hired Lane Kiffin, hired Tom Raleigh. Now, Raleigh, the baseball coach, not had a lot of success until now. They've started to pick up. I think, 17?
They were 17-4 going into yesterday. I'm sure they played the game yesterday. I didn't see the score of that game yet, but he's off to a good start so far. But we'll see how it goes in the SEC play, which SEC is the best baseball league in the country. Much, like it is football. It's just a really tough baseball league, and you have to finish in the top 8 to even make the SEC tournament. That's tough, but we'll see how it goes. His NCAA sanctions weren't major or severe like many people feared they would be. So Raleigh, he's not that bad right now. But Kiffin stuff. Fortunately, the NCAA has decided to blame Kiffin more than they've decided to blame the UT athletic department and Mike Hamilton for those particular infractions. And apparently, they've chosen to do the same thing with Bruce Pearl. The NCAA really seems to be out to get Pearl, make an example of him, and it's really the SEC commissioner already made an example of him by suspending him for 8 games. That was an unprecedented move for a commissioner to interfere like that.
Now, with Pearl, reportedly, we were looking at a 2-year suspension had he stayed. But the real question is giving up 2 years of Bruce Pearl as bad as probably the 6 or 7 years it's going to take to rebuild the program?
Well, I see it. You're going to have 2 years with Pearl out. And then
Tony Jones.
You know who's coming back.
Was probably right to keep the ship at least semi on course. Pearl embraced Tennessee basketball. He became Tennessee basketball.
Right. He even, with the bright orange jackets, he became a kind of a staple. You look down on the side and see him in his big orange jacket.
He brought back traditions that Ray Mears had 35 years ago that other coaches abandoned at UT.
Ray Mears, iconic at UT. I mean, he brought a lot to the table.
Before Pearl, he was our best coach, and that's sad that it took 35 years to get another good coach at UT. Don DeVoe had early success, but he faded toward the end of his career, and then it was disaster with Wade Houston, and disaster with Kevin O'Neal, and Jerry Green. The discipline on the team was disastrous, even though he won games, and it just all went downhill with Buzz Peterson. He was terrible.
There's talk, of course, with Pearl gone. Scotty Hobson and Tobias Harris have declared they will enter the NBA draft. They've not hired agents yet.
That's some good news. And our commitments, our signees, Kevin Ware, Chris Walker, they've both said that with the right coach, they'll be willing to honor their commitment. But that's a big if with the way the coaching search is going right now.
Right.
Ware initially decommitted
Mm-hmm.
because Mike Hamilton lied to him.
Right. And that's you don't lie to people. To me, that's just you, especially for that.
I mean, literally told him Bruce Pearl will be coach next season.
And then turns around and he lets him go. And then there's also, and getting into that more, the squabbles that it may have even came above Mike Hamilton.
Oh, it came from above Mike Hamilton. Jimmy Cheek, the chancellor at UT, he pretty much made this decision. Apparently, maybe with the backing of Haslam and a few other bigger boosters. Obviously, John Thornton didn't agree with it for his recent statements that saying that Hamilton.
John Thornton is not a happy man. Thunder was already upset with the Phil Fulmer situation.
Right.
Now, whether whether the SEC and college football in general had finally passed him by or what, the way he was let go was disastrous.
It's just Hamilton's made a lot of mistakes, and whether it's just him allowing himself to be bullied by the people above him, you would have never saw that with Doug Dickey here. Doug Dickey, he wasn't the best basketball athletic director. He was actually pretty bad at it, but he kept us in NCAA compliance, and he ran the athletic department.
Right.
He didn't let people run. And Mike Hamilton also has issues. He lets bowl committees run over him. UT gets passed over for better bowls constantly under Mike Hamilton's watch, while Florida and their AD Jeremy Foley just they push the bowls around. But Hamilton's not willing to do that.
Doug Dickey, that wouldn't happen.
No, Doug Dickey was a strong athletic director. We really need another strong athletic director, somebody who will stand up to our administration, the NCAA. Ohio State, Jim Tressel, with all the trouble that he's in right now, their athletic director is at least standing up to the NCAA.
Exactly. And Jim Tressel did much worse than Bruce Pearl. Jim Tressel lied about crimes being committed, basically.
His players were receiving impermissible benefits, which is a big note on the NCAA.
Bruce Pearl had a cookout.
And Jim Tressel knew about those months before the season started, but signed a sworn statement that each coach has to sign every year before the football season starts, saying that their team has not committed NCAA violations to the best of his knowledge. But he knew that they had, and he still signed that and sent that in.
UConn men's basketball, very similar to Bruce Pearl. He was suspended for 2 games.
Oh, he still gets praised. They were being praised earlier today in their Elite 8 game. And Jim Calhoun gets praised. Pearl was raked over the coals all season for this by the media. Mm-hmm. But Jim Calhoun was talked about like he was a saint. It was just a strange standard the media has in some things. They're not like Pearl since the late 80s. Dick Vitale once said he should be blackballed from coaching forever because he turned someone who was cheating in the NCAA.
Which seems kind of backwards to me that you would blackball someone for that.
That's the coaching mentality. But our coaching search, I don't expect great results from it.
I mean,
big names were floated out there.
Oh, yeah.
Shaka Smart from VCU.
His team is playing well right now.
They beat Florida State in overtime.
They're in the Elite 8. He has a really good point guard, but they're Anthony Grant recruits. Anthony Grant's at Alabama. So you don't know how well he can recruit. You're just not sure. Tennessee did beat VCU earlier this year in the preseason NIT.
And speaking of Alabama and Anthony Grant, he has said that under the right circumstances, he would be interested in the UT job.
He's not very happy with the instability in the athletic department right now with Mike Hamilton. Jamie Dixon at Pittsburgh, essentially, some interest was raised by us, and he immediately got a raise from Pittsburgh and won't really even discuss the job now. That was a pipe dream that someone threw out there. I'm not sure who. Just like Jay Wright at Villanova, almost immediately said no. There's,
Butler's coach, who just recently.
Just earlier tonight. He's in the Final Four now.
He is now in the Final Four for the second time in 2 years.
A coach in the tournament's not going to be able to comment effectively on the job anyway. But I still wouldn't expect us to be able to hire him. We're just the athletic department's in a bad spot right now. UT basketball's in a bad spot. We're losing a lot of seniors off the team. Our 2 top scorers are underclassmen who both declared for the NBA draft, even though they did not hire agents.
Though Tobias Harris is most certainly going to go first.
Tobias Harris' father already said that if Bruce Pearl didn't come back, he would not be back. Scotty Hobson, you may not.
Hobson had some inconsistencies.
He said after the tournament he would be back, but then Pearl was fired right after that. So you just don't know with Hobson. I'm not sure that he's going to be a great NBA pick. He may be a second rounder at best.
I mean, he's more likely to have to go the overseas or the D League route.
I expect Harris to be. He should be a first round draft pick.
Not necessarily a lottery pick, but a first rounder.
But we'll see. In an ideal world, we hire a great coach that those players really love, and they decide to come back. But that's going to be tough. So our roster's going to be thin next year.
To even get good players to come to UT is a tough sell. Bruce Pearl was an effective recruiter.
So we're looking at losing maybe 5, 6 players, maybe more than that off this year's team.
We lose 6 to graduation, if I'm not mistaken.
We have a couple of walk-ons who, Stephen Pearl played a lot as a walk-on. We lose him, and we're going to lose several players, but we only have 2 recruits coming in right now.
And
so
to get more, and to get more at this point with the instability of the program is almost laughable. I mean, they just have to be diehard UT fans.
We don't even have a coach to recruit right now.
Now,
that's true.
Houston Fancher, he was their video review guy. And he coached at Appy State. He's a Tennessee native, but he's not going to be the head coach.
Oh, Fancher's a placeholder. He's going to,
he will slide right back into his video review guy spot.
That Chuck Benson, when Buzz Peterson was fired, Chuck Benson briefly held the job for a few months while we searched for Pearl. That's all. This is a placeholder. He may keep in contact with our recruits, and that would be about it.
Also, with the athletic department, spring practice is underway. Not a whole lot to talk about yet. I mean, we're basically working on the basics.
Now, Coach Dooley has said literally that. He's teaching the kids how to tackle still. This team has over 50 sophomores and freshmen on it. He said he's still, teaching, people how to field punts. Last year we had terrible trouble fielding punts. He's tried 6 players so far already in the first few days of spring practice fielding punts. He said he probably would not even know till fall before.
I have a feeling, as far as punt fielding goes, that freshman Devin Young will wind up our punt returner.
There's a good shot at that. He's a small, speedy back. And there's another player named Vincent Dallas we signed who's very speedy and maybe a punt returner. We got to have somebody who can catch punts.
That was a terrible problem last year.
Last year you held your breath when the ball was kicked.
Now,
you didn't know whether they were going to catch it or muff the punt.
Now, Devin Young, got a small connection with him, Rodney Ellison, now head coach at Wartburg, coached him as a freshman when he was freshman coach at Bearden. And Young that's how he's looking to make his impact at UT. He is looking to try to come in and make a special teams impact as soon as possible.
All in all, we have just a lot of instability at UT right now with potential. When we'll have these sanctions come out, and who knows how bad it's going to be for football, how bad it's going to be for basketball. Hopefully, if nothing else, the fact that Kiffin and Pearl are no longer here maybe will satisfy the NCAA to some extent.
Of course, as far as the instability goes, this is the first time in 3 years that we've had a returning football coach.
Yeah, that's
very true.
That from a place that Tennessee had 2 coaches from 1977 to 2008, they had 2 football coaches. That's coaching stability, and all of a sudden it was coaching instability.
I mean, we really went the opposite direction there, and I hope Dooley can right that ship.
Yeah.
I like Dooley. I like the fact that he's SEC tradition. He's been an athletic director.
Mm-hmm.
He got Louisiana Tech to their first bowl game in 30 years. Right. He coached under Nick Saban, and you saw last year the team improved. The schedule got a little weaker, and that helped. Mm-hmm. But Tyler Bray played well, and the team improved, and that's all you can expect.
Okay, folks, we're getting ready to close this segment out. Stay tuned for segment 2 of Sports Chat. We'll talk about Campbell County High School and Jellicoe High School basketball. So check out segment 2 of episode 1 of Sports Chat.